Welcome to Realm IQ Sessions, featuring conversations on AI with AI founders, AI leaders, and experts from around the globe covering the intersection of media, technology, Hollywood, and marketing. Please give us a follow and subscribe. This is our host, Curt Doty.
Hey there, newbies. Yes, it's been a while, and we are finishing our season 3 with a series of interviews that I'm finding really pretty cool. It's called CLOWD Masters, and we're talking with leading AI filmmakers from around the world. And yes, it's all about the Cloud Film Fest now. So forgive me, but yeah, these guests are either curated either by being one of the many judges that we have, or they're a contestant in the competition, or they're simply doing amazing things with their craft. So today's guest is Toby Hyder, a creative technologist and filmmaker with over a decade of experience at the intersection of emerging technologies, visual effects, and AI-driven production. He was doing all that stuff, and then he later joined Synthesia, one of the UK's leading AI companies, where he led a specialist team developing human performance capture pipelines and training AI systems in the early days. And so after that, he formed his own company, XOLink, an AI production company pioneering identity capture, AI filmmaking, and proprietary data set creation. So he's doing some really cool stuff. He's done some fantastic films. And so we get to talk with him. So let's listen in. Hey there, Toby. How you doing?
Hey, Curt. Very good. It's
Good,
hot
thank
in
you.
England right now, so
Yeah.
quite rare.
Okay. Well, yeah, Europe's going through some things. Listen, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview, this podcast, this conversation. I admire your work so much. You've been showcased on our sites before, and I follow you on and your stuff. And you know, you're one of the early masters of what's going on
Oh,
in AI.
thanks for the
So,
words, Curt.
yeah. No, I'm very humbled and appreciative of people like yourself who are, you know, pushing the envelope and just creating and just doing it. And so I admire that so much. So for our audience, for our listeners, if you could tell a little bit about your AI journey, your prior background, you're creative and like me, and it's like, yeah, we all have our own journey, but what is yours, and how have you embraced AI, you know, coming from more traditional backgrounds?
Right, yeah. Let me try and make this short but good. So, yeah, I started making films, obviously late teens, cinema 20s, and this was incredibly low budget productions, guerrilla style filmmaking, if you will. So, you know, shooting on location if people allow it, and you know, apologizing after, that whole mantra. And yeah, I made a feature, and I had this sort of goal to make a short film every year at least. You know, with whatever resources I had. Quickly just ended up in credit card debt. I wasn't lucky enough to punch through the studio system, but I learned a lot, and well, you know, I was compelled to make films. But then, yeah, I somehow got lucky. I started working for a company doing emerging film technologies using 3D scanning, so volumetric capture as it was known. This was with the VR boom back in the day. So we would scan like people doing performances, and then it would be a 3D virtual asset, which was really neat. So I got to see, a lot of the world doing that. And working in like sport and games. From there, an AI company reached out and said, we need a volumetric technical director, and you've got some good skills for that, to build a data set. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I took the job on and got double the salary, and it was a good time. So while I was there, this was kind of like the emergence of ChatGPT being a thing. And I remember first seeing that and thinking, what is this? Just some sort of chatbot like MSN. But I got quickly seduced by it after being very hesitant as first, you know, as one of the vocal people saying, oh, this will never replace real art, blah, blah, blah. But again, got seduced over time. I was making films with stable diffusion, some very early tests. And I just found it to be a really fun way to make like music videos and things. But yeah, while working at Synthesia, the AI company, I was tasked with building this amazing volumetric capture rig. It was like a blank check. You know, make this amazing system. I mean, it's like something like a time machine. You imagine all these lights and cameras all around. But its purpose was to teach AI what humans look like from every angle, to make avatars and to recreate them later. You know, this is part of the big arms race to get to that generative AI video models. Yeah, the data that we built was really, really cool. And I learned a lot about different performance styles, be it people being aware they're filmed or people behaving like they're not being filmed. We built the data set too quick. So much so the whole department got redundanted. And took what I learned there and started applying it to creative pursuits. So I made a film called Bones of You, which is all about the Battle of Cressy, which is a bit of history I've always been obsessed with. I absolutely adore history, but I never even conceived that I'd be able to be the sort of filmmaker to make a historical medieval drama. You know, I don't have the experience of Ridley Scott or the nepotism to perhaps make something like that. But when I saw that AI was getting to that stage, I dropped everything to just really put my time into making something that was, you know, stunning and visually. So used the tech of putting a person into AI, which was incredibly hard at the time. This was pre-Nana Banana. I had to make it using LoRa's and used a real actor, real score, and I just used the visuals mainly from generative sources to create a film. And it was really well received. I've got my bug back for making films for myself again. I can now go back to that thing of, you know, not just making one short film once a year. I can make, you know, 12. It's great.
Yes.
So it's a real boom in my creative journey. And I think it's completely expanded what I can believe to be possible in terms of storytelling. It's not, you know, what I can film, what I'm near, like kitchen sink dramas and, you know, guerrilla style filmmaking. I can now open it up to some of the wildest ideas I've ever had. And it's been a great journey, really good community in London and across the world that I've met, all pioneering in this space, like yourself, Curt. And it's really nice to have people who support each other and push forward to new things. So that's kind of my journey in a large
Yeah.
nutshell.
Well, yeah, and that's fantastic. And you speak of empowerment. You think you spoke of these walls that were put up by the traditional gatekeepers and the burden of financing independent films, you know, saying, well, maybe a goal could be, you know, one a year. Many filmmakers, you know, make one film every 5 years and
Right.
indie filmmakers even less. So all of a sudden now, these tools are empowering people like you, people who had the prior experience and passion and technology chops and that creative eye to actually, you know, create films in a matter of days. But, you know, what an empowering message. So I want to ask you, in the journey, you know, you label yourself as a creative technologist. That's a term I have some issues with. I had that role when I was at a PR company. And at that time, this is, I don't know, 12 years ago, I think, you know, and I was been a creative director for 25 years. And then I got this role and it was like, you know, everyone just looked at me as, oh, you're the coding guy. And
Right.
so, you know, there was this rub with other
Mm.
creatives and it's like, what? I'm a creative. You know, I had to like
Yeah.
defend myself. It's like, I've been doing creative longer than you, buddy. So it was a title that I ended up hating.
Yeah.
And quickly went back to, yeah, I'm a creative director. So yeah,
That's good.
I don't want to confuse that. Yeah. Do I know a lot about technology? Yeah. But am I a coder? No. And so what are your feelings about that title? Because, you know, people are calling themselves AI filmmakers. They're calling themselves
Yeah.
AI video artists, you know, or they're just staying with creative and, you know, they happen to use AI.
It's
What do you
interesting
feel
that.
about this title, schmitel
Yeah, titlage. I didn't
issue?
really give myself the creative technologist. I'll be honest. Like I pinged you over that bio from something someone wrote about me. They said this will be
Okay.
a good title for you. It's a good old buzzword, this one. So I haven't had the trouble yet of being called a coder, although that would be quite an honor for someone that cannot code whatsoever. But I think, yeah, titlage is a very weird one. I mean, you know, I'm cooking dinner tonight. I'm not a chef. It's like when you're writing a book or writing a screenplay, when you decide, yeah, do you know what? I'm a writer. That's the thing. I suppose it's a signifier for people know how to orient with you. So what you said there about losing the title of creative technologist is probably quite a wise one because, you know, if your goals personally are to do more creative work, yeah, just go down that line. I dropped AI filmmaker from my LinkedIn, I think. I just went filmmaker because I don't want to burn the bridges forever making films, although I probably have in some way. All the disdain for anyone interacting with AI these days. I'm sure that'll pass, but I'm a filmmaker first, and I think it's important to remember that. And it's important to, well, I don't know if it's important, but I think I wanted to separate myself from people that were just saying like, I'm an AI filmmaker and I popped up and I'm doing this in this way. Not to say that they're any less or any greater, but I think filmmaking is filmmaking and soon that will be seen as, you know, indistinguishable from what tools you use.
Yeah. So that's fascinating. You know, again, the nomenclature of these labels, I really like the fact that you're just saying, I'm a filmmaker. And that's simply put. And yeah, at what point do these films that, whether they're hybrid or pure AI, can they just be perceived as films? Because, you know, one of the goals of our little festival called CLOWD, is that let's get these movies off of YouTube and get them onto the big screen and let the audience decide in that moment, in that kind of sacred house of worship of a movie theater, a movie palace, and let them decide, am I emotionally connecting with the story that's being told to me? Am I believing these scenes? Am I believing the continuity? Am I analyzing it as I'm watching it? Or am I just absorbing the story and appreciate it and connecting with these characters and the story, right? Which is what the magic of film has always done. But the real test is now let's put these AI films, which are films, but put them in the theater and let the audience decide. I mean, the audience will always decide whether to accept or reject anything. They reject, $100 million movies. Look at, the Moana failure of a remake of a great animated show. A movie. Why do it? Disney has to be asking that. Why are we doing these? Because they always fail. So the audience will decide, right? And so that's our goal with CLOWD. And it's few and far between the number of AI films that have been released theatrically. But I think more and more are going to happen. And, as we move from this experimentation phase, which was all, when ChatGPT launched, was like, cool. Oh, it does images too. Cool. Oh, it does video. Then all of a sudden, there's this separation of classes of all the hacks and novices kind of left the party, and real storytellers like yourself said, I think I can tell a story now because these scenes are getting more believable. There's continuity, possibilities. And so these storytellers emerged, right? And now we're in that phase where now it's all these short films are being, put up, contests all over the world besides mine. And then, what's interesting is, okay, great. So now how do I monetize this new skill that I have?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's now easier to get your vision on the screen, whichever screen, even vertical. And then, so where are you in your journey in terms of that transition to, great, I'm a filmmaker, now I'm a storyteller, I use AI technology, I use hybrids, approaches, and now where's the money? Show me the money. Many people are already employed and they're doing it for their companies. You started your own company. So what's your take on that evolution of this whole thing?
Yeah, I think people in general have been very hesitant to embrace AI. I was just seeing it over the last year. I mean, I formed my company before making Bones of You because I knew, there's going to be opportunity with this. And yeah, it's been really interesting. I was out at Cannes in one of these film festivals. I guess it's like the Naughty Table Film Festival at the side of the Great Cannes Film Festival. But still, there's so many little film festivals that go on at the same time as Cannes that kind of you get the same networking experience.
I wrote an article called Canned Fusion.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah. It's like, are you really Cannes? No, it's like, it's.
No, right. Particularly, it's still quite good. What's good is, I mean, prestige aside, is the network and the people that you meet there. So there's people out there trying to buy films, sell films, and they hear about this funny little thing called AI. And, sure enough, you've got a lot of people out there that, they can raise 10 million for a film, but they actually need 100 million. 10 million raised for an AI film is exceptional. You don't necessarily need, I'd say 1 million to really cover your bases. To do a good hybrid with some good names attached, 2 million perhaps. It really does open the door to a film that is a little bit more risky in terms of what the content is. You're not having to make a Marvel film. You're not going to remake Moana, safe bets. You can start making things that are more risky in your slate, which is great. My main income sort of came from creating what's known as torches, which is like extended trailers or flavors of what someone's film's going to be. I met a lot of people out at Cannes that wanted those made up for their films to go alongside the script. No one's got time to read a script anymore. They want to see the film. Right. And the problem with that was people were like, well, why am I looking at the film? This AI is amazing. Can we make it with AI? So that complicated things even further. And then there was a lot of explaining to people what AI couldn't do at the time. I don't have that problem anymore. I have to tell them what it can't do. And the other way around, you know what I'm saying? It really is at that stage where you can do anything that your wildest dreams can conjure up. And there's already some great filmmakers in the AI space putting out things which are indistinguishable from Hollywood. But yeah, I'd say, is Hollywood the goal? Not necessarily. But yeah, I've been making music videos, promos, art for people. And it's been great. I've been saying no to work because I've had, too much. So I just give it out to other people in the community that are also in the same situation and, look after each other, which is great. kind of digging our heels, not racing to the bottom on prices. That's kind of been a main thing for me. It's, if you take on like 4 great projects a year, you've got time to make things for yourself as well alongside. I mean, people can be very scrappy with prices, and it's a turbulent time. It's very cowboy right now. It's definitely really excitable. It's chaotic, the whole industry of the traditional sense are, intimidated by it, but so are the people interacting with it. It's not like we're in control. It's absolute. Yeah. You got to change your moat and work out where can you really focus? Because I formed XOLink around creating technology as well, like creating really good human identities, which we still are really good at with like video LoRa's. But Google Nano Banana Pro can get there quicker and more effective and just enough to get the result that you need. I mean, have you seen all these videos that popped up about the World Cup and all the footballers are doing like farcical things? It's amazing. It's overnight. So the time needed to create these things is just getting slower and slower. But there is money to be made. I think you've just got to find that opportunity. And I would say that anyone that is fearing their job, be it in the VFX space or in anything within film, it is not to get the pitchfork out. It is to interact with it, because the AI industry needs you. You're the one with skill and talent and knowledge. What you can bring to it is so much more. It's not replacing you. It's enhancing what you can do. And, if you are the guy who's got the chops, get involved. It's not us versus you. It's like, it really is an open invite. There's no gate here, So, yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
good.
So again, that empowerment message and the mindset in divided Hollywood, which is divided, is that people think that AI is going to take my piece of the pie, when the fact is this: there's a whole nother pie. It's not about diminishing your piece of the pie. It's about there's a whole nother pie, and now there's 2 pies. And so it's not subtractive in its effect on the economy. It's additive. And new jobs are being added, not taken away. If there's attrition in Hollywood, it's not because of AI. It's because of consolidation, mergers and acquisitions, streaming, all these other economic factors that have nothing to do with AI. So I think AI is really creating jobs. I see, posts for, AI filmmakers to join studios, whether they're Prime or Netflix. Netflix is buying technology. Evidently, they used AI in 300 of their film projects last year alone.
Wow.
So, it's all additive. What's wrong with that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like the CG revolution, back in the day, and, in animation moving from 2D to 3D animation. It's like, all disruptive, but it created new careers and new leaders and new ways to think about how creative and technology, going back to that creative technologist title, how they're combined in a new way to, make one unique with those skills. And, only, a certain number of people can kind of bridge that gap and have that mind historically. But now this technology is really eliminating that technology barrier. And you can really get into, well, what's the story I want to tell? And let's just start to have a conversation with an agent right now at this point. It's not even prompting. It's just like, I'm thinking this, what do you think? And so I think you should do it. And it's like, and then, it'll start creating stuff and then critique itself without you having to say, circle this and eliminate that. It'll say, oh yeah, I blew it on that one. I'm going to redo that. Let's just keep having the conversation. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. I've seen a bit of that. I had some nice experience with InVideo Agent 1. Been doing a little behind the scenes for them, sort of showing off a new project. And I've been blown away by how you can interact with it. It's, like you say, it iterates. It goes, I messed up that one, and I'm off cooking my dinner, and it's doing
right.
I didn't know how I felt about it.
It's thinking on its own and responding and creating. And I think that's a major shift. In the early days, Discord and Midjourney, remember those days, right? It was a kind of very mysterious of the language of the prompts and all that. And then, there was virtually no interface, or it was very cryptic. And because it was really, a coder's world, Discord, which then was, getting into Gen AI. And then Midjourney split off, and other platforms like, Adobe started to do a great job of interface design, of how to make it easier for people by clicking buttons, clicking, format sizes and dimensions. And so it wasn't like, what do I have to write again to make it landscape? All of a sudden it became easier. And with conversational AI, with these agents, what's the interface? I mean, you can speak to it, and it's crazy, but I think that's a trend generally for AI and LLMs and that, customer experience as it relates to having a relationship with an LLM that can give you answers in this agentic world. And it's fascinating generally, but in this world of trying to make films and video and develop stories, wow, fascinating times. It's just exponentially growing and improving every day. It's crazy. Okay, let's take a break.
The CLOWD Film Fest invites AI filmmakers from around the world to submit their short films to an international competition and festival built for what's next in cinematic storytelling. The CLOWD Film Fest will premiere in Southern California the week before LA Tech Week at the Alex Theatre in Glendale, California, for its first annual AI Film Festival event, October 7th and 8th. AI filmmakers who wish to submit their works for consideration should visit cloudfilmfest.com, that's with a W, and at hike.com, that's with 2 I's. So, stop posting and start submitting. The final deadline is August 19th, 2026.
And we're back.
I found that you can just use like your voice to enact the change within it. Because not to be naff or pretentious, but like the greatest technology ever invented was language, right? Without that, we wouldn't have got to AI. And now that we can, make the sound waves in our voice and the computer can hear it and create action and enact change is really, that's mind boggling. It's the same way you'd work with a crew, so to speak. I mean, I'm in two minds about agents. Like sometimes I feel like it's doing too much, but then when I give it like very heavy lifting, monotonous copy and paste tasks, and it goes away and makes me something like 60 character sheets, which it did, and I can just go through and grade them like a teacher. It really sped things up. That was going to be 2 weeks of work, but I did it in 2 days. It's great. Like speed is very helpful. And I mean, AI, on top of everything, you can make a career out of it, but it gives you a work-life balance back, which I think is definitely something the old studio system almost encourages you not to have. I mean, in England in particular, I've worked, on Disney films, various different roles, and it's like, yeah, these are 18-hour days, and there's no overtime, and we're going to crush you here, and you're in the VFX team, and you're going to have a pretty terrible time. We're going to outsource all the labor to India later on.
But you get a credit. You get a credit in the film.
Oh, wow. I mean, if you look at the old system that we are protecting, we do want to protect 100%. There's a lot of toxicness in it. Like, on average, someone dies on every major production due to stress and various other factors. We don't have those problems with the AI filmmaking movement. There's no sexual harassment in AI filmmaking as far as I'm aware of.
There's no couch casting and all that.
It's a positive thing. I mean, the environment factor as well is kind of like a mute point. Any Disney production or anything is the amount of carbon just getting one person to set and feeding them for a day, completely offset by an AI film. It's just a human existing. It's wild. But, we've got to be pro-human. And I think comparing those two things for, eco stuff, it's quite a weird angle to go at it. Because everyone's just trying to find a problem with AI. Well, some people are trying to find a problem with AI. And I think that's an easy target, isn't it?
It's an easy, enemy. But I believe in the power of AI to actually solve the problems of the world. It's a little off topic for film, but, I think people should be focusing on that. And mainstream media should be focusing on what people are doing, in science and climate and, healthcare and all these things, which are all really good things. But no, we only hear about, Elon Musk as a trillionaire. And it's like, well, for briefly, and then the stock jumped. So, it's sensational, but, all that news is always about the sensation and a quick soundbite and the shock value. And it's a bummer because, hardworking people like yourself, you're just forging ahead and embracing this technology and doing really cool things. And, thankfully, people like you are putting their head down and just pumping out great stuff. And I think that's, what the industry needs, what this new industry needs. And this new industry doesn't necessarily need Hollywood. There's new forms of distribution out there. And that's what's also exciting. So in terms of, really being analytical of the tech that you're using and have, pioneered in, what do you think is still missing? We talked about agentic. You use all the tools, I'm sure. You go from platform to platform probably, but what do you, if you had a message to these AI platforms. What would you tell them? It's like, dudes, you got to get it together on this.
Yeah, the big one is I'm giving them direct feedback. A lot of them. I hope they're pushing towards it, and I hope they see this problem as much as I do. But it's sound, and sound being a separate, fragmented element to a visual. Because obviously visuals are exciting. We want to see that first. And on a typical film set, everyone leaves sound as the last consideration, but it really does make a movie. I mean, if I was to record my voice here and wanting to take that voice and put it directly into an AI scene, it would have all the reverberations of this room and not on a medieval battlefield, for example. You could have something like a color picker where you could get a battle scene and you click on a person and it understood how that could reverberate in that scene and it could sound mix it for that. That would be really helpful. But because there's this whole, the term of the uncanny valley where everyone typically applies it to a face that doesn't look quite human.
Right.
It can often, that same term, uncanny valley, can be applied to something just being not quite right. And we don't know why. And it just makes us go, no, I'm not sure. It's sound a lot of the time with AI. Like 11 Labs is fantastic, but 11 Labs voice put in the wrong head and the wrong person is incredibly jarring. There's a great person I work with who's a voice director for a bunch of video games. And he taught me this thing about how the shape of your skull makes your voice. And if you gave me Mickey Mouse's voice, it wouldn't really make, or maybe it would make it someone's voice. It just doesn't make sense. So when you're considering like a fantastical character, when you see it, you kind of have an idea for its voice. I did a bunch of tests where I like generate an image of a goblin. I record myself doing a goblin voice, for example, and it kind of fits and it works. And it's actually quite a fun exercise I was doing where you generate a character and you try to do their voice and see how well it fits. That's another consideration, is that uncanny valley of sound. When AI cracks that would be really good. You are seeing it already with Seedance having its native sound embedded. It has a really good way of...
There's a little button you can turn on, right? It's like, do you want sound? Yeah, we'll do the Foley or, whatever. It's like, well, that is helpful, right?
Really helpful.
I don't have to go find Foley on YouTube or something. It's like, it's there in the scene. Wow.
It's class. But consistent voices within that is also very difficult. So from one 15-second generation to the next, people have got workarounds where it's, Higgsfield is a beast and they just run it 1,000 times until the voices match up, or they prompt it exactly the same way, but it's still, you're throwing it into a wishing well sometimes. But there's still the mechanism of using an actual voice, an actual person's voice. And Seedance I've noticed, like maybe 1 time out of 4 actually contextualize where that voice is coming from within the scene. I haven't found it to be like perfect. We've got 2.5 coming up. I'm hoping there's something there for that. But yeah, once sound is cracked, I think we're in a really good spot for, what AI needs. And then I think it needs to just focus on, better ways in which humans can interact with it. Because, performance capture is great. Encouraging actors to actually start engaging with AI and working in these scenes is what defeats the AI performance problem. There can be really dodgy scenes. There's almost like a joking Instagram account about how terrible AI acting auditions were. But it's really not the case now. I mean, his jokes kind of fall flat on his face a bit there. There's actually really good performances, but that's kind of not the point. We don't want to replace actors in that performance. It would be amazing to just... we've all got phones which have semi-good cameras. Just get together in a location and say, okay, turn this into a coffee shop. We want the shot to be about this. And this is how my actor's going to perform. And that represents into the on-screen performance. From then, I think people will see the wonderful possibilities of AI and creating scenes. It will just be a really playful and encouraging space. Because I'm very human first with, keep as many roles as possible, which your budget can allow when you're making a production. I'm not dazzled by the fact that one person can create everything in an AI film. There's still people waving that flag going like, yeah, I did everything. Isn't that brilliant? I don't need anyone. It's like, all right, you strange wizard locked in a tower, you carry on, It's like, was the film any good? No. But
you, Marilyn.
Well done, you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, film historically has been a collaborative effort, right? And I think the more collaboration that can happen in AI filmmaking, the product is only going to get better because it's all about people with different points of view and experiences and expertise coming together to make something better.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about competing or, it's really just collaborative always ends up making the film better. So I think, this whole, like you say, the notion of the solo filmmaker, AI filmmaker. Yeah, it's experimentation. They can put stuff out. It can win some laurels in competitions. But, imagine now if you had a whole team behind you or you joined another team. And I think that's starting to happen with new AI production companies popping up all over the world, studios now recruiting AI filmmakers. And that brings up another conundrum I want to talk about. So I've talked with, a number of AI filmmakers who were, I would say, repressed creatives who worked in the commercial industry working on other people's shit, right? And it's
I think you
like,
just described me. Yeah.
okay. And then and then AI came along, and then they're confronted with, I have the chance to explore my own creativity, my own point of view of what is art, what is my view of taste or filmmaking or storytelling, and what is my lens, right? And so that's always
Mm.
a confrontation, like the blank canvas in front of an artist. It's like, what do I paint, right? It's
Mhm.
like, okay, here's a blank canvas. Here you go. What do you want to do? It's like, oh man, that's a lot. And so then, they start to explore that. I love that. Okay. So now you enter the monetization phase after the storytelling phase. And then these repressed creatives who now could express themselves find themselves being recruited into studios to work on a Disney film that has nothing to do with their creativity.
Mm.
So there's like this arc of creative empowerment, and then a dip in that creative empowerment to supporting the machine again.
Yeah.
Do you find that, or do you struggle with that, or is that? I mean, what are your feelings about that? Because
I do struggle with that. That is, it's a tricky thing. Like people like your skills a lot of the time. I think I've had a lot of people reach out to me with like, this is the idea I've had for years and you're going to get it made for me, because they don't even want to learn the AI tools. And I'm quite honest with them about their ideas sometimes. I just don't really feel it. That can ultimately end up to be the conversation. They can come in with bold claims of like, yeah, we got funding for this one. We get funding in a day for this. On an AI budget. All right, well, okay, I could work on this one for 6 months for you, and then I'll just do my own thing. They often fall short with those types. There's a name for them. We call them something here, and it's quite difficult. It's if people want to come in and fund like my ideas and my dreams, that's an amazing privilege. I do have a bit of that going on, which is really nice. And I'm following those leads like very heavily. There's a lot of the time where you very much got to give up your skills to create something for someone else, which I don't think is a problem. And it's also a really good way to like go to the gym creatively and make something which isn't typically, your wheelhouse. I love medieval films, but I still make adverts for apps and stuff like that, right? Making those concise videos is actually a really helpful skill. But yeah, I do see that there is a trend of people like getting recruited into, the larger industry and just becoming that, like a cog again, I suppose.
yeah, right.
But with the AI suite of what you can create is, you have multiple skills which are all improving all the time. And it's such a nice system to be a part of. Smaller teams, I believe, is like the way to go. These bloated, large productions where you have very little say in what happens, you can definitely get lost in that. And, you better make sure you're getting paid well to be like in that situation as well. Make sure people are valuing your skills. So yeah, I think it is a conundrum many people are trying to navigate. But yeah, to carve out time to make something for yourself and monetize that's kind of like the golden goose, isn't it? I mean, a few creatives have got to that prestige. You've got Gossip Goblin, who's got funding behind him to make what he wants. He's got a large investment pool built off an Instagram account, which, putting out lots of content throughout the whole process. And he's making his own IP. It's kind of like Kings of the Kingdom, isn't it? These are like outliers in that case. And I think probably if you do want to create exactly what's in your mind, building a Instagram following is not a bad shout on where to go. Again, that comes with its own drawbacks, because you do get into a positive reinforcement feedback loop where you're not necessarily doing new and challenging things. You're doing the same things which gets the views. You see a formula online. It's like, oh, if I make something that's a little bit like Star Wars, people will go, wow. And they may want me to make more.
Happen to accepted genres versus trying to figure out what is a new genre.
Yeah.
Right?
People leech off a lot of other people's IP to build a following, and great, well done. And then, they can launch their own thing off the back of that, which it's not unwise, but I don't think that's my path. I'm far happier to like, I don't know, stand by my guns and keep my integrity of what I want to make. I tried to make a slop account for 6 days and then I kind of got over it. I just doing Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you speak to with your integrity, how do you maintain your integrity so that you focus on your, personal stories and your creativity and your personal projects? It reminds me of, the 70s in filmmaking when indie filmmaking just, exploded, and great films came out of that. And a lot of those films, wouldn't be made today, and certainly miss those. But that spirit of the independent spirit, I believe, we are in a renaissance of new indie filmmaking, both hybrid, AI, and traditional. As the studios are going through these things, right? This consolidation, they're going to make less films because there's fewer studios. That's just the net effect. But meanwhile, there's an explosion of these AI filmmakers all over the world who can just create stuff, and it's fantastic. So using new distribution models and platforms, they're getting their stories out there. And I think if Hollywood notices, great. If they don't, it doesn't matter, because these people are still going to just do their thing. And I appreciate that independent spirit, that indie spirit, which is always admirable and produces, unique, original, authentic stories that aren't manufactured through some Hollywood garbled process or formula that is continuing not to work, even though we had a great box office year, but with some really original films.
Yes.
So not the franchises. So that's hopefully you're taking note. In the interim, the indie film spirit lives on. So that's what I'm hopeful for.
Me too.
So we're getting towards the end of our little podcast here. And so thanks again for having this conversation. How do people find you? And here's your chance to throw out your URL and promote yourself. So
Okay. Yeah, my company is XOLink. It's kind of a joke on exoskeletons being linked. I don't think anyone's ever got it, so I've explained it for the first time now.
Okay.
XOLink.ai. And on Instagram, I believe I'm going to have to look this up.
What's your handle? Come on.
No, I've got minimal followers. So, and on Instagram, I'm XOLink.ai. On YouTube, it's XOLink Film. I'm working on another medieval project at the moment on the combat of the 30. I'm going to be using more hybrid techniques with real actors and some knights fighting to get their combat right, which will be really fun. So we're going to see how knights actually fought on the battlefield instead of this Hollywood fanciness. It's really hard to kill people in armor, so I'm going to show it.
Well, and it weighs so much too. People don't realize that.
Yeah, God. I actually went for like medieval training recently just to try it out, because we have that as a sport here in England. And it's growing all the time. And I didn't get to put the armor on, but I did get to hold someone's helmet for a second. It was 5 kilograms. And that's just the helmet.
That's crazy.
It's exhausting as well, just rolling around that stuff. But yeah, anyway,
I appreciate the research that you do to, again, make things authentic, even in an AI world.
Yeah.
And I think, that's a fantastic pursuit and kind of purpose-driven authenticity that format needs. So I applaud your efforts. So listen, thanks so much for this conversation. It's fascinating. Love your work. Love what you're doing, and keep it up, and stay in touch. And if you find yourself available to come out to our little festival in October, please do so, because we'd love to have you. But otherwise,
I'd love to come.
Thanks for your work, and keep it going.
Thank you, Curt.
Hey, all of you out there, thanks so much for catching these really cool special edition interviews of CLOWD Masters. We hope you find these interesting. I certainly have. And speaking of the CLOWD Film Fest, submissions are closing August 19th, and judging will begin. So stay tuned on the public voting aspect of the competition, and because that'll be taking place on the Rad TV platform. In fact, you can go there right now and subscribe to the CLOWD Film Fest channel to get a head start. If you have an AI film you want to submit, there are 2 links in this post. One goes to our website, cloudfilmfest.com, and our submission site, which is hike.com with 2 I's. I have 2 I's as well. Our event is developing very nicely in the fall, with panel discussions, screenings of all the finalists, and an award show, and networking opportunities abound. And it takes place at the Alex Theater in Glendale, California, my birthplace, by the way. It's a beautiful 100-year-old movie palace that is just freaking gorgeous. I recently visited and saw all the renovations they've been working on for years. And so check out the Alex at thealex.com website. And a special shout out to Miles Williams, who's the artistic director there, and his whole team, who are doing a fabulous job of supporting us in our efforts with the CLOWD Film Fest. So passes will be on sale soon. And if we don't see you in SoCal in October, check out the next CLOWD Master premiere.
Take care.
To learn more about Cloud Film Fest, visit cloudfilmfest.com. That's cloud with a W.
Subscribe to our Media Slam newsletter and learn more about the intersection of design, content, and technology. CurtDoty.co. Branding, marketing, and product development.